All right, cool. Should we start kicking off? The 10 minutes past, so should we start kicking off the questions, Mike?
Yeah.
Let me scroll back up and see. Cello to ground, it is so important. So I guess it's a two-part question. So why ground data is important? It's because when we sell the data, it's extremely important for the customers to get as much data as possible from like the runway of an airport, because if you can get a flight, get all the data from essentially when it leaves the gate, then it sends out a very specific signal when the wheels take off. So that's essentially when they say that's the time they took off. Then when they land and wheels down, that's when they calculate like the arrival time. But then you also have the time from, okay, you landed, but how long did you taxi around on the runway, and when did you actually park on the gate? So it's just getting a better overview of the entire trip. That's why the data is important. When it comes to the question, will you get more rewards? You will. I guess this is kind of like yes and no. If you get really good ground coverage on an airport, most likely your rewards will be higher, because it's unlikely that many people have good coverage of the airport because it's difficult. But the rewards themselves are not worth more for those data points, but you are more likely to have more unique data in that hex, which means you will have a bigger percentage of the contribution in that hex. I hope that answer made sense.
Yeah, and we said on a previous AMA or some discussion that remember that when you're capturing planes overhead, you're getting a ping every half second, or depending on what obstacles are in the way and everything. Best case, you're getting it, every half second, every second maybe. Whereas if they're on the ground and you were just sitting there watching them, you are getting messages nonstop. And some planes, it can take a good 20 minutes, at least in Atlanta airport, you can take 20, 30 minutes before you actually get to the gate and get out of the plane. So I think Robin said before, until they plug it in, it keeps sending messages until they plug the plane in. So it's kind of like a nonstop message generator. So yeah, you will, like Robin said, be having a leg up in number of messages sent, which should help you.
Yeah. All right, perfect. I'm glad that made sense. Sometimes I'm not the best at explaining things. So if I answer something and you don't understand, don't feel bad. Just say, hey, that made no sense. Please explain again, and I will try. Let's see what's the next question here. Jeff, I'm reading your question, Jeff. Just give me a second. Yeah, so when we move to the smaller hexes for registration purposes, like the antenna location purposes, it will be a similar color scheme. Essentially, like when they're open, if you can actually register an antenna there and claim a hex, it will be green. If it's taken, so one antenna in one small hex, it will be red. Then there will be an option. So there'll be two reasons why it would be yellow. One, if someone comes in and they have the hardware ready, and they want to register the antenna in an open hex, when you register, we need to lock that hex for like at least a couple of hours to give the person time to run the install and get it all set up, just so someone else doesn't come in and claim it right in that process. In that process, it will be yellow. Also, there will be an option to, let's say you see an open hex, but you have to buy hardware. There will be an option to reserve that hex for a small fee for 30 days. And when a hex is reserved, it will also be yellow. So then if you see a yellow hex, either someone is in the process of installing or someone has reserved it and is waiting for hardware. So there will be similar colors. Jeff, did that make sense? Is that what you asked? Okay, perfect.
New question is it confirmed on the update for the hex map, like this week? Like where, from your perspective, Robin, where do we sit on implementation schedule?
So when I talked to Alex earlier, the goal was this week, but as you know, I'm sure there's people here that have made plans to do anything. Like things come up, things tend to be more complicated, and we want to make sure it's at least good enough to release. I'd say it's unlikely that it'll be tomorrow, but maybe most likely early next week. It turns out like some of these functionalities we need to finish to make sure it works are a little complicated. I know another developer of ours found a solution for one of these essentially reservation while you're installing just now, so he may finish that tonight. But yeah, we want to make sure it works so we don't release it and then everyone is having massive issues right off the bat. I'm sure there will be bugs, 100%, but we want it to be as good as it can be before we release it. So most likely next week. So sorry about that. Yeah, I think, Jeff, I kind of answered that question, but the plan was this week. It turns out it's a little more complicated, so it's going to push it to next week for it to go live. Let's see here. Slim, do we need to change something in the dashboard? You don't have to do anything besides sign the form if you bought hexes to make sure you get either a refund or a token drop if you're eligible for that. All the live antennas will be automatically assigned hexes on the smaller hexes, so you will not lose a spot. And in the dashboard, the only thing you can do is make sure your antenna location is correct. Like, make sure your location is correct, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else.
Zero cool. You're asking, once we get these hexes, is that it? I mean, are we done? We don't have to worry about future wipes or anything. So, Robin, I guess my comment to this would be that if you notice in the new plan, I mean, we discussed this before in the old light paper. We just didn't have an implementation yet, but we had discussed uptime as part of rewards and everything else. And for the core participants originally, we were kind of going to enforce some kind of uptime. So now in the new plan, there's levels based on your uptime. So again, if you're up for a day, you get +1 to your level, and it maxes out at 100. And if you are offline for a day, it'll drop by 1. And the idea is, not only does that affect or impact your rewards as a percentage. So for example, if your level's up to 100, you are going to multiply your rewards times 100%. If you've had some downtime due to whatever reason and you're at 75 or you've recently started, then you will get 75% of those rewards in the calculation. But this could be used in the future, obviously, to decide if someone has kind of abandoned the project. Like if someone is offline for 60 days, I'm just throwing out a number here. Robin may actually have particulars in mind, but in my example, you're offline for 60 days. At that point, we reevaluate your hex ownership. And yeah, you may lose it just because you haven't been active. You haven't communicated with us at all to say, hey, I've got a problem. Because we want to keep the reliability of the network high. We want to keep the redundancy of data high. And if we just start having people disappearing, we need to be able to say, okay, new users come in, replace them. Let's keep it going. Robin?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like the answer, I guess, to if it will be for good, that answer is no. I mean, if you never have your antenna on ever again, like, you will lose the hex. Exactly how that will be implemented is not clear. It could be, since as a new participant, if you're brand new to the project after the change, you will start at level 75 out of 100. So it'll take you about 3 weeks to be at 100. I mean, one version would be if you go to level 0, the hex just unlocks, because then essentially you would have 100 days of being offline. Then I think it's fair to say that that person's probably left. But we have not set this in stone yet. But there will be a way to lose the hex if you abandon the project and are offline for too long.
Or said in a more positive way, we will create opportunities for new users to onboard.
Yeah, but you can put it that way too, or political. Let's see. Yeah, so each antenna, Zero, to your question, each antenna will have its own level. So if one antenna is online and let's say they're both level 100, and one goes offline for 3 days, you would only lose 3 to that one antenna, not the one that stays online. Slim, the reservation option will be when the change is actually when it's deployed and it's live. There will be a reservation option similar to how you purchase a hex now, but it's like a reservation. And I just want everyone to be aware that this reservation is like literally reservation fee. It's optional. It's not a refundable fee. Just so everyone, and that will be very clear. But it will be very easy to see. Yeah, it will be called Wings in the testnet. I don't know. We haven't thought about it, but the main one will be called Wings, the main token. I don't know if the testnet will be called the same, or we haven't thought about it.
We'll call it Robin's tokens.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, but maybe we can have a community vote for a testnet token name, and the best vote wins for the testnet token.
I was trying to remember what the longest word in the English language was, and I can't remember what it is now.
Ancillary. Let's see. So we know that over time, the user experience, will get a lot better. Right now, it's very basic, obviously, with the map. Weather could definitely be something we add on to it. We don't know yet, but it will be super easy. To add the weather actually to the map. So I feel like that's something that would add value to the people using it. We would add it. But yeah, we don't know yet, but it would be an option for sure. Ancillary.
I will say one positive thing I'm noticing out of this is that we have obviously had so many stages that people just don't come anymore because we've answered too many questions. So it actually signifies to me that this is probably correctly the final stage to have specifically on this topic. Obviously we can have others, but I think we've answered a lot. But we're here to answer more.
Yeah. And we, I think, I don't remember who suggested it. Cello, maybe it was you. If not, I'm sorry, but like someone suggested having like the stages, maybe like on a monthly basis. And I'd be more than happy to do that if people just want to peek in, say hi, ask any type of question or chat. If you guys are interested, if you see any value in it, I would be happy to. Cello, what's the difference between Wingbits data and free data? Which free data are you referring to? Because I don't know where that would be.
Are you talking like OpenSky or some open source DB, Cello? Yeah.
Also, with OpenSky, can you go in there now and get an access to the actual data through an API and then resell that data?
Now, like right now, some of them, obviously there are some providers that offer an API option, but some of these databases just have it available as a downloadable file. But it's once per day. So like I can right this moment go download yesterday's, and maybe this will lead Robin for the question of why is real-time data more important in some cases?
Yeah, so most of the customers, they want essentially a live stream of data, and they need the data to be enriched. So they need to have like different other data points that we get from other sources, and we need to aggregate and enrich the data. We need to clean it up. We need to deduplicate it. So that's really where the value comes. But then also, if you look at the bigger networks, like Flight Radar, FlightAware, AirNav, that data is not free, but that's where all the customers get their data. So very few customers will use any type of free API because it's not the data they need. Let's see. Hold on. Let me catch where I was here. Will customers who purchase Wingbits data be able to share the data? So then to your question, how it normally works in the industry is that the data has a price range, and it usually goes way higher if you allow them to resell the data. If you only buy the data for like internal use, it's cheaper. And then, so there's a price range. So the more you allow the end customer to do with the data, the more they have to pay for the data. But a lot of times what happened with that is like, let's say Flight Radar, Flight Aware, or we sell the data and allow them to do anything with the data after, then it doesn't really make sense for them to sell the data because the price would have to be so much higher that it's not competitive.
Hey, Slim, are you asking about different channels in Discord for different languages or countries? Yeah, we talked about that before. I think we were saying that as growth continues, we may reach a point where we do start having country-specific channels within Discord. It's a balancing act because you don't want to be the one guy sitting in your own country talking to yourself, but you also have to balance it with, excuse me, as you reach a certain level, when you do want to open those up, you have to make sure that you have a moderator or someone that can read that language or speak that language to be able to moderate the communications in there. Otherwise, I have literally seen it before where a non-moderated foreign language, well, a non-English, I guess I'm a foreign language for many people, but a non-English channel got out of control and nobody realized it at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be like, because for example, if you go into, I mean, I don't have a good example besides like Peak's Discord. They have like 30,000 people there. They have channels in different languages, and that's obviously something we would want down the road when, if there's enough people from one country, then it would make sense that we set up a channel for that language. But we also have to be able to moderate what's being said in that channel. So then you have to have a moderator. I think Mike probably just said exactly what I'm saying now, but yeah. It would be cool to have it. I think it would be appreciated too by many people. Bruno, will they be able to require to pay using Wingbits token? So this is kind of part of, we're actually working on the tokenomics now. So to access the data, you have to use tokens. Then the question is it a specific amount of tokens for a specific amount of data? Or is it a dollar value to the data and you have to have whatever amount of tokens needed to fill that dollar value? And it seems like if you look at other projects like Helium, you have to convert to credits and then use the credits, and the credits have a stable dollar value. So from a business perspective, so far, it makes a little more sense that the data has a monetary value, but you pay in tokens, because then it's very few people are going to buy if the token fluctuates, for example, then the data price changes all the time. Too much. But yeah, you use tokens to access data. People have tokens, they can access data to build things on top of the data and stuff like that. But since it is a utility token, like the token is the essentially you get access to the data as one of the main utilities. Bruno, did that make sense? Cool. Cello, regarding gaming, I think anytime you have a project where there's any type of reward, people will try to game. So we're not thinking like it will never happen to us. But we have a data scientist that is all they do is working on models to catch this. So we have multiple ways of tracking spoofed data, tracking spoofed locations. We can also measure the data versus data from other sources. Like this is very, we know if a plane is supposed to be at a certain spot, unless it's, military plane doesn't have a flight schedule, but 99% of the time we know if it's spoofed or not just by is the plane theoretically supposed to be in this area.
And we also have Robin watching the map nonstop every day. And he's like watching and seeing that plane's not in the right spot. I know that tag sign. That's not in the right spot.
Yeah, exactly. I just look at it all the time. No, but I do look at it all the time, but not so much for that. Just fun to see, like, if something cool popped up. Jeff, let's
Jeff,
see.
AMA to educate us about graph 1090 or maybe even tar 1090. Is there something already? We do not have anything already.
Good idea, though.
Yeah, we did have a plan to create a video on how to optimize your antenna, what you're looking for on the graph site, or possibly real time on tar 1090 as you're modifying your setup. That kind of got delayed due to this project deployment, but it is 100% on my list to get done. And we're also starting to flesh out some stuff on the doc site for advising better things for installation as well, like proper installation location. How do you optimize? Obviously, get it outdoors instead of your basement. So we're working on these things in incremental steps. That video will be a priority for me so that we have something to help users along figure it out.
Yeah. Let's see, Slim, which companies are interested? So I can go through all the segments. You can do logistics providers. And an example here is, let's say you have, FedEx and UPS, they have their own planes. DHL to a certain extent. Most other logistics providers use commercial airlines. So they buy this data. Credit card companies like Amex or MasterCard, Visa, they buy this data because they can combine it with travel transactions and create reports. You have insurance companies because ADSB data, since it's regulated, actually holds up in court. So if you have a case where you claim a refund because of a long delay, this data can actually be used to prove if it was delayed or not. So they would buy it. Obviously, airports, airlines, data analytics companies that build functions for the airline industry will buy this data. Governments buy this data. There's like a million companies that buy this data. We actually, which was really cool, because when we went through Antler, when you go to investors and pitch, they always ask, oh, what's the total addressable market? How big is the market? All that stuff. And so you try to go through all the customer segments, how many, maximum could buy it, and what's the price range. And then you try to estimate, okay, what's the share that you think you can actually grab? So maybe if you say, okay, I can grab 10% of the market, and that's your serviceable, obtainable market. But actually, we got a report from one of our advisors the other day. We saw it. McKinsey, they actually spent over $1 million with McKinsey to do research on this. And the total addressable market for this type of data in 2021 was 14 billion. And in 2025, was forecasted to be 22 billion. And then it's up to us to think, okay, how big of a piece could we potentially take out of that? Which we think, we can probably take a few percent. So the market is massive. Ancillary, will we sell it to government entities? We haven't approached them yet because the sales cycles are really long. But when we have global coverage, we will start approaching them. Right now, in the beginning, it makes more sense for the project to go to the customers that could buy data even when we don't have global coverage, and it'd be quicker sales cycles. But I don't see why we would not sell to them in the future if they want to buy it. Let's see. Hold on. I think I'm at Cellos here.
Yeah.
So is there a specific amount of antennas? Well, so there's two pieces to the puzzle, kind of two pieces. If you have perfect distribution, you can get global coverage, and not including like airport runway coverage, with about 3,000 to 4,000 antennas if they're perfectly distributed. So I think, the existing networks, they have 35,000 to 40,000 antennas. Most of the networks share the same, antenna infrastructure. So I think around 10,000 antennas, if you have good distribution, would be really good. Give enough redundancy, give enough coverage, and hopefully also get enough airport coverage. But we don't know yet. That's why we're, now with this change, continually measuring the different areas to see when we have enough redundancy, and then we know we can kind of be done in that area, and then we'll just go area by area over time to make sure we hit a good level.
Robin, I don't know if you want to go through Ash's. It was a statement or a suggestion on doing some research in another project and how some tokenomics are being done. I don't know if that's maybe something to research after this call and have a discussion about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the input, Ash. I'm not, I haven't looked into them, so I will do that probably tomorrow and see. But thank you so much for the advice. Sierra, what's our competitive advantage over companies like Flightradar? Well, the main thing is that we can optimize this coverage with less antennas, so our latency will be lower. Also, by incentivizing, let's say we're missing coverage in specific areas that are really hard to get. In Middle East, Africa is really difficult. South America is difficult, and parts of Asia and India. We could actually, if we wanted to incentivize higher, to incentivize deployment there, to more target growth. So that's actually a really big competitive advantage. Also, just the incentive model, but also everyone here, there's an incentive to have better uptime, because otherwise you lose rewards. There's an incentive to have more coverage to earn more rewards. Both of those create a better, more robust network. Because if you look at the existing networks, about 5 to 10% of the entire network is offline at any time, any given point. So we want to create a more robust network. And from talking to customers, they see a lot of value in that. And lastly, we have more unique data points because we have different people in our network that maybe are not in all the other networks. So we get some unique data points, which they also value.
And just to add on to that, when you look at some of the big current providers of data and some of their network sizes, like Robin said, you can see 50,000 participants. As you mentioned, how many of those are running full time versus just having it up when they need access for their pro plan or whatever subscription, but also how many of those are running in basements or running on indoor antennas just popped in a window? Obviously, when you talk about rewarding people for their contributions, you add in that desire, as Robin said, to optimize, to make things better, get my antenna higher, make sure it's outdoors, get better equipment. You don't have any of that in the current networks. You just have, I want to see cool planes over me. I don't care if it's making a huge difference to anyone else, but I like to participate. And I'm not diminishing the fact that there are probably thousands of enthusiasts in those networks that are focused completely on having the best possible setup. I'm just saying overall, if you take 50,000 people, you got to imagine quite a few of them are just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at Flightradar, it's actually a Swedish company. They're sitting, 10 minutes from where we are. They've done really well. I mean, they're a really good company, super smart people working there. So it's not like these networks are bad, the big ones. They're really good, and they have big market share. So we just think we have a better model, and we think we can be more innovative over time. And we just have a belief that so far what we've seen, the feedback from customers, from investors, from the market, it feels like it's going to be really good. But it's definitely going to be a challenge. I mean, starting a business and taking market share as the newcomer is always challenging. Hardware question. Mike, I'm going to let you take this one.
You're talking about cello?
No, Ash.
Oh.
Sorry. I skipped. I can do cello first. I forgot. Yes, cello. We are planning to sell as a complement. People can build their own. A lot of people already have it. Some people maybe want a more of a plug-and-play device. We're also going to have some more stuff in the device to essentially validate the data in a better way. So we are planning to sell that, but it's probably maybe end of the year if we get it done. We just want to make sure if we sell hardware, it needs to be good. So we need to be able to deliver the hardware in a reasonable time. When the hardware arrives, it needs to function really well. So we just don't want to rush it. It's not like it's not a money grab. It's just like, if people want a plug and play device, we should be able to offer it.
Yeah, I think offering something. I know. I think somebody mentioned earlier that Amazon, like the green radar box, came back in stock. I mean, it's also a matter of, we don't want people to be scrambling for devices if we can help offset that as well, because the effect that generally happens is when there's a huge demand and there's a limited supply, prices artificially inflate until the demand drops. So we also don't want our participants to be stuck at the mercy of third parties, but it is something that has to be done over time. We can't turn around tomorrow and say, okay, everybody, we've got a solution, and just hope for the best. Ash. Yeah. So when I first read it, I was like, tree coverage, why are you covering trees? But I realize what you're asking now. Yeah. So Grumpy might even have a comment related to this, but the problem is, yeah, if you were stuck in a lot of trees as your surrounding, and I was trying to remember the term, the ones that perennial kind of things, ones that are constantly with leaves or whatever, you are kind of going to suffer from a decreased signal. And I think you noted that in your coverage, in that you said you're getting basically first circle. I think it's 50 miles or something. So your line of sight, I know it's radio line of sight, but for all intents and purposes here, your line of sight is where your antenna is up to the angle of the peak of all those trees and beyond that. Anything further down, they're too dense and blocking your RF. And I don't know what you can do about that. No different dongle is really going to make a huge difference there. I'm guessing you probably don't want to put a giant tower up in the middle. Chainsaw helps. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, for a almost similar case, just not trees. My neighbor, I'm in one of those neighborhoods where some of the houses, unfortunately, are jammed next to each other in certain directions. Even though we have a decent sized lot, my backyard basically is slim, and it bunches right up against my neighbor, who has a multi-story brick house with a tall roof, and he is blocking my line of sight. And I've asked him to remove his house. At this point, he has refused. So I'm in the same boat as you. The only thing I can do is try to move higher, and I am moving from inside the attic to chimney mast. Because I did fly a drone up there, believe it or not, I got into flying my drone up there to figure out the height it would take to get a good clear line of sight above his roof line. All the other directions I'm pretty good, but this one house is just blocking me like a wall. Admittedly, I get great coverage for many miles. I just want to see more of the horizon. So I don't know what to tell you. I will say, back in the helium days, I saw many people hire a tree, I don't remember what you call it, an arborist, basically a tree climber, somebody who cuts them down, and they went up and ran antennas all the way near the tops of the trees and then mounted them. I know the downside is over time the tree keeps growing and weird things start to happen and the antenna gets overtaken, but it's a very novel idea if you want to go that route.
That's interesting. Hey, fun fact, Mike. I actually got my Arbor certification like way back.
All right, I'm hiring you. That doesn't help me destroy a house next to me. Never mind.
Yeah, no. So why I got it was when I worked for this investment company, we built 6 companies within the service industry, and one of them was a big tree service company. And I was out there talking to large customers, and I was like, I have to get my Arbor certification, or it's not going to work. So I did that. I wouldn't say I'm the best arborist in the world, but at least I got the certification.
Interesting note. My nephew did the same thing. He runs a tree removal service, and he ended up becoming an arborist so that he could deal with, the local municipalities. Like there's always somebody in a local government office that will have to sign off on trees in certain areas. And so if you're an arborist, apparently you get a little bit of a pass to be able to work through the paperwork to say, yeah, this kind of tree is actually detrimental to the property or detrimental to our area. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. I like, working with my hands and stuff. So like nature. So it's fun. Go out and look at some trees, see if they have any issues. Let's see. Well, is anyone else have any particular question? Or I mean, we don't have a timeline for this, but I can spend another 45 minutes or so at least if anyone wants to hang out. Let's see.
Slim wants to know, is it possible to implement the installation video onto the Wingbits website? Robin, didn't we already talk about that? Or, I mean, it's on the docs site now. We embedded it into the docs Wingbit site, and the site updates that are being pushed will better link to the documents site. So it will be kind of a natural.
We could actually link, like, we can have the main video if it's just embedded, and then we could actually, as we get videos maybe in different languages, we can have that as links. So hey, if you want to see this in German or maybe later in a different language,
yeah,
we could do that. Why not?
Yeah, I think that's always the challenge. I obviously I use subtitles when I watched your video, the closed caption to see like what you were saying. Hopefully Google or YouTube was good at translating that. And I've wondered how reliable that is from a non-English perspective of watching our videos.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have a YouTube page? We do have a YouTube page. Wingbits. Go follow it. It's almost 200 followers now. Super exciting.
Yeah. It's at Wingbits if you use the search thingamabobber, or you can just type Wingbits. Unfortunately, we do seem to be in a fight with Grumpy over top billing for Wingbits related videos.
Yeah.
Are you still in here, Grumpy? No.
No, I think he left. Do you want to help Nguyen answer his question?
Yeah, but first, Rooster Illusion is asking if there's a known amount for the reservation fee.
Yeah, it's gonna be between $15 and $20 right there. We're playing around with it a little bit now.
Oh, sorry, you answered in text. Well, that's because I'm not reading. But for anybody listening on YouTube, there's the answer in case you're not looking. Nguyen, we installed Wingbits on SenseCap, and for the moment, there is no manual gain feature. It is important, this feature, or can we use auto gain and it's okay? So depends on what you mean by auto gain. Some people, when they say auto gain, mean the auto gain script from the same developer that made ReadSB, TAR 1090 and stuff. Which if you can't set the gain, you may be having an issue if you want to use auto gain script. I don't know. I don't know if that actually works on one of those systems, because it would essentially try to do the same thing as just kind of manually adjusting gain at regular intervals. If you're just talking about auto gain as the -10 value, which is kind of the default when you first set up the unit, I mean, it's not ideal. At most, you're just losing messages that you could be getting if your gain was turned down. I know we need to delve into this, because there's probably been 3 or 4 people that have had the same thing where they're like, I don't know how to adjust the gain. I've tried different commands. It keeps resetting. Big Maxi is typing. He may already have the answer, and I'm just wasting breath. Yeah, let's see what Nguyen has to say in reply. Soft line. Yeah. I will let Big Maxi take over for this as I step away. I feel like Homer Simpson receding into the bush meme right here. No matter what, it is on my list to figure that out. I've made a remark on my Notepad or Notepad++ to kind of follow up on that. So I will address it sooner or later. Someone on the team will. I'd like you guys to be able to set your gain. Anybody using that tool? You did say it will be non-refundable. Correct. That is correct, Jeff. It is. It's a one-time reservation fee. If you make it refundable, you're basically just passing money back and forth while Wingbits has to pay fees and deal with foreign country entities to deal with stuff. So at this point, it is a one-way, non-refundable fee.
Reservation fee, yeah.
Yeah.
And you obviously do not have to use it. I mean, if you already have the hardware or you feel like you can get it really fast and the area is quite empty, probably don't need to use it at all. It's only for people who want it.
Yeah, we figured having the option is better than not having it in case people are concerned. I'm hoping it's more of a natural thing where people just pick up the hex that they install to and they're not worried about like getting one before someone else. But we'll see how it plays out. I can't wait to see the level, the resolution 6 map and the distribution.
Yeah, be really cool.
Janoots is asking a question, Robin.
Yeah,
this reminds me of your podcast last night.
Oh yeah. Ideal rollout plan 6 months from now will be
Q4.
Yeah, Q4. I would say that ideally, obviously, we would ideally have the mainnet launched. That would be really cool. By then, I mean, testnet will be, but definitely, but have mainnet done, have the real token out, be close to global coverage, like at least up in the sky. And then we're probably not going to be done with the airport coverage. That's going to take a long time. It's quite complicated. By that point, I would foresee us having several paying customers. So there will be some nice revenue feeding back into the community, which would help. We will definitely by that time have an expanded team because like long term, how we want to do it on the tech side, and I'm quoting Alex here since he's the tech founder, have one team dedicated essentially for the back end of data, optimize that for the customers, and one team focusing on the user experience because long term we actually want to make the platform really fun to use with different functionalities so people have a good time using our platform. So having some better UX at that point would also be cool.
Maybe even an app on my phone?
I would love an app.
Yeah.
It would be really cool to have an app where you can track all your stuff.
Well, I mean, sorry.
No, go ahead.
From a participant or even a non-participant perspective, having an app for tracking planes. I mean, there are obviously some out there already that the other aggregators are using on various platforms, Android and iOS, I think for all of them. So I think it would be cool to have something where, I could have an app. Instead of opening up one of theirs, I could open up Wingbits.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool. Janoots, what would you like to see in 6 months? Ideally.
Ooh, throw the question back at him.
Yeah, back.
Uno reverse card.
Yeah, exactly. While you're typing, Janoots, let's see. Lord CO to the 2. What do you like to say about Antler? If you want to, I mean, it's pretty public. So Antler gave us our initial investment. So it's kind of funny how the program works. They give you 150,000 euros, but then you actually have to pay them back for a program fee. So you're left with 90K. So we got it's actually 87.5K euro that you're left with in funding after you pay the program fee back. And it's very standard. They have a little different type of investment terms based on where you are. So if you go to Antler in like the US, I think they give out, I think it's like $200,000 in initial funding, just because funding in the US is generally higher. I don't know what the program fee is, but yeah, I mean, you can feel free to ask questions about Antler, how it works, if you're interested, Lord CO2 But you can, I think it's even on Crunchbase. You can see the funding if you Google like Wingbits on Crunchbase. I think it's pretty public.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What was your going through the entire Antler process? What was your favorite part about it?
Obviously meeting Alex, so we could start this. So I mean, Alex came, so both me and Alex worked at Klarna before, but we never met there. I wasn't allowed in the engineering department. I was commercial. So but that was why I quit Klarna, because I was so sick of just working for someone else. I just couldn't stand it. I built a lot of companies before. I really love it, but it's really hard to find a co-founder. Because not many people maybe are willing or able to quit their job and do something with no salary for several months. So Antler was really good for that. I think in our program in Stockholm, there was like 80 people, really cool backgrounds, like very, very accomplished people. So it was really fun meeting all them, obviously teaming up with Alex. And then I feel like I learned a lot. I mean, I thought I knew quite a bit going in, but it was a good learning experience.
So are you saying that basically it's like a, not speed dating, but it's like a matchmaking service that when you went in, you were looking for this, Alex was looking for this, you end up together and then you work through learning a lot of stuff together?
Yeah, so how it works is they bring in people with different skill sets. So like maybe 40% is technical background, then you have maybe some legal people, you have a lot of commercial background, and then the program is 3 months. You can join by yourself, with or without an idea. You can join as a team, and then essentially the first month is really heavily spent on networking, and you go through all these, like you fill out these sheets where essentially what you're looking for, set expectations, what's like a red flags with the co-founder, so you set all the expectations early. Antler also brings in these bigger companies, like big insurance company, big banks, and they come and present problems that they want to be solved, and then you get these random teams of 4 or 5 people, and you have 2 days to do a sprint to essentially come up with an idea how to solve it, and you pitch it for the customer. So it's really good because very early on, you meet people, but you also get to work with them. Because one thing I learned is that you can be really good friends with someone and enjoy hanging out, but maybe you would hate working with the same person. So that was really nice way of quickly feeling each other out and meeting different co-founders.
That's cool. I didn't know that backstory part.
Yeah, no, it's interesting program. I liked it a lot.
Janut's made a comment that he or she has had an awesome time setting up the device, learning about the effort of the data collection. Didn't even know that this was a hobby effort running. So pretty content so far. And I was going to make a comment on that. Like, I swear everybody I talk to, nobody has an idea that ADSB data and the content that is used from that source within all kinds of systems in business and government, they had no idea that this is literally run by volunteers. Yes, the aggregators are out there collecting it and selling it off or whatever, but the fact that the providers themselves, I mean, I would have always thought from prior to all this, I would have always thought, okay, there's boxes out there, just like there's government air sensors throughout the United States. Not a lot of them, but there are government ones. They're super expensive. I thought there was something like that running in various locations all across the US and the world that would handle this. And realistically, you go, okay, that can't happen because they're all governments doing the same thing. And then you find out, oh no, it's just, it's your neighbor. It's the guy down the street. It might even be a relative of yours that is submitting this data. That is just crazy to me. And everybody I talk to is so astounded by that fact.
Let's see. But Janus, I'm reading the rest. I agree. I think the DeepIn model is amazing. And that's even really why we started Wingbits, or the initial idea came from another network selling and people kind of dropping off because it's like you have all the communities in these networks providing this very valuable data. And I mean, Flight Radar, for example, I think they did 350 million in revenue last year. So like, okay, they make all this money, but they make it on the back of all these people contributing. It just doesn't make sense that the people contributing should like not share in the success of the business. So that's really how the whole idea came about. Lord Zero the Two, do you think government might stop people? Blah 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 blah. No, I do not. And the networks, and so the networks that hide these planes, they actually don't have to hide them. It's a choice. Because this data is the equivalent to a license plate on a car. And there was actually a court case in Europe where they said, oh, we want to prevent people from tracking my plane. And they lost the case because the court determined that this is public, open data. It's like a license plate. You cannot stop anyone from collecting it. And regulation, I think in US, this ADS-B data was regulated in 2020. Europe, I think it was 2017, and the regulation is coming more and more all over the world. So I don't think they would ever do that, because the entire aviation industry is relying on this data, number one. An airport does not know what's going on more than 30 minutes outside the airport. That's how far their radar goes. And outside of that, they rely on this data. So it needs to be able for people to collect it.
Just swinging back to Janut's real quick, you asked if there's other frequencies that we could collect. At this time, no. It is very interesting. There are other things like voice frequencies where you can hear pilots in air traffic control. There's also ACARS, which is like basically a text messaging kind of system between planes and air traffic control. So there are other things out there, and there are projects out there that are collecting them. And I've started researching them more to see what they're doing with the data. And how they're presenting it, because I think it's great to collect data. I am a huge data guy. I have been for decades, but when it comes to it, most people want a good way to ingest the data. Like I can collect all the data I want, but if you don't understand what I've collected and you can't interpret it in some cool way that excites you, you don't care. So I've been looking at all the other sites and seeing how they're presenting stuff. And I've got some ideas, and hopefully as time goes on and we establish this network the way it is now and build it up, because that's the first priority, then maybe we can start into this other stuff and provide some cool features.
Yeah, but I think, just the last thing on that, then I'm gonna continue. But like, I think we as a project have a responsibility to first prove to you guys that we can deliver value with this data. If we prove, hey, we can deliver value collecting this data, Slim, then I think we're in a good position to maybe expand into different data types or frequencies. Cello. You're watching the police helicopters. That's awesome. Jeff. Yeah, so Jeff, right now you can obviously go to TAR 1090 and see all the info on the planes. The goal is obviously to not have to go outside of our platform to see all that info. As the user experience gets better and the UI improves, we can have all the data right in the Wingbits platform as well if you want to check all the different planes. Right now, it's obviously still very rudimentary on that sense.
But I've joked with other participants that one of the things that happens to me is I'll sit outside on my patio or something and I'll hear something. And the first thing I'll do is open up my phone, look at TAR 1090 to see like, all right, something's close to me, something's happening. And one night it was 2 a.m. and it was one of the louder planes I've heard as far as proximity. And I was like, okay, something's going on. It turns out it was I think a Cessna that was at only 2,000 feet. And we're not that close to an airport. And 2,000 to me seems really low when I can fly, say, a drone up to 400 feet for airspace. So the fact that it was so low had me nervous. So I actually watched it on TAR 1090 to see where it was going to make sure that the altitude wasn't dropping. Like, is it crashing? Is there an emergency? So it was kind of interesting. Yeah. It was the first time I've had like a real world, like I've seen helicopters and other stuff that piqued my curiosity and made me open it up. But this was the first time I actually had like, is everything okay? And it was kind of cool that my own antenna was picking that up.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Thanks so much, Ash. Appreciate that. Oh yeah, Lord. So we added the beta in the website. It says Wingbits beta. It's just to make it clear to people that come in that we are in beta, because so many people ask, "Oh, are you in mainnet? Are you in this? Are you in this?" Like, no, we're in beta. So now, hopefully, people see right away. Oh, okay, beta. It's not like a done deal, like a finished project. It's still developing. It was actually our intern that added that today, so that was good for him to push that. Grumpy, welcome back. Thanks for listening in.
Hey, Grumpy, I think we have a job for you. Somebody here has like 100-foot tall pine trees. It needs a tower to be placed on their property, I think.
Yeah.
That, and if you have a hammer, I've got a neighbor that could use some restructuring.
Well, I live in an apartment, so my antenna is on my balcony, so I would have to remove my own building. Yeah. Yeah, 100-foot tower. Maybe that's like, we should have a award for some at some point for like craziest setup. Like, tallest antenna tower. I don't know.
I will tell you that I researched after I was like, all right, obviously I got to move to the chimney or something to strap it to that. Then I'm like, well, how much is a tower? Like I bought just one of those, triangular frame towers. I'll just put it up in the backyard. Maybe they won't care. Neighborhood won't care. And I started researching the pricing. So we're not doing that anymore. They're not cheap. Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. Green llama. That's what I saw on Helium. Putting antennas top of a tree. Why not?
Wow.
I mean, not me. I would fall out of the tree and die, and then I couldn't use the antenna. But yeah, it's a good idea.
That was crazy. Cello, I mean, Mike, you can help me out here, but like, it totally depends on where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So
if you're, yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if Alex or Zane, but that's one of those, that is one of those statistics that you are curious about and you write a query just to find out, but it's not something I think we have available at this moment, because the problem is that there is no great average. Right now, if you look at different areas and some of the deployments out there, you can even see it in the Flex channel, dashboard Flex channel. There are so many varying amounts of positions based on traffic. I know there's people in Nova Scotia that are happy when they see 8 planes or 10 planes on the map at the same time. And meanwhile, I'm looking at well over 100, and there's people in the UK looking at multiple hundreds. So messages are just going to be situational. All you can do is look at yours, try to improve yours, but know that certain days are just busier traffic days than others, and weather patterns and also can affect flights. So it's really difficult. Unfortunately, this is not like we have, I don't know, a reflector on the moon that we can shoot a laser at and it's in the same spot. We can measure that exactly. This is a situation where plane traffic changes daily, minute to minute, week to week. And so you're chasing a number all the time. All you can do is optimize your gain, optimize your antenna placement, and your hardware, and make sure that you're collecting the best you can.
Yeah. But I mean, at some point, and more for fun, because like, if you're right next to an airport and someone is in the middle of nowhere, obviously rewards are the same, but like we could make a leaderboard where you say, okay, this antenna has collected the most data in one day ever. Obviously, that won't be like, hey, you're gonna get more rewards, because then it depends on completely where you live. But maybe as a fun thing, we could do a leaderboard just so people see like what's the most data an antenna can collect or has collected.
Yeah, Grumpy, I thought, not that I'm endorsing Grumpy and watching his videos, but I have started watching them. Did you say that you had you had a tall tower during one of the videos, but there was a helium antenna up there or something, and didn't have access to it, but it was still working reasonably well. You just couldn't swap the antenna. You could swap everything below. It was something like that. And it was making me wonder about how some of these people deal with some of these more extreme installations and getting to the hardware or the antenna and dealing with changes. I imagine you hire somebody because I know some towers don't allow people on those towers unless they are sanctioned by whoever owns the tower. So it can be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I got it. It was on a roof. Got it. Yeah, but it was a tall roof. It wasn't like my roof where I could put a ladder up and just climb up there. Yours was like a super tall mini story. So that was equivalent of a tower to me. 300 feet. Yeah. See?
Oh, wow.
Any other questions? I don't know if we need to.
Yeah. No, I have 17 more minutes, and then I actually have to finish. But so we'll hang out until then.
Yeah. Leaderboard, just like Robin said, in the future, it would be kind of cool. I saw Grumpy before on chat on Discord saying, hey, a leaderboard would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is always going to be, like Robin said, that there's some people who are going to be on the top just due to the luck of the draw. And yes, they put in a tremendous amount of effort. They may have excellent equipment and they've installed everything perfectly, but you still have luck of the draw for topology as far as where you can install sometimes. So it's a bummer. I know I'm probably never going to be at the top of the leaderboard, no matter what I do, short of erecting a 300-foot building around me or something. Even then, I've got mountains. So I think it would be really cool, though. I would love to see it. And I think hopefully there's opportunities for us to figure out how to massage the data so it's representative based on the area you're in as well. So if you could come up with a system where, yes, you're in a less trafficked area, but you're excellent at tracking all the available craft in that area, that could be a leaderboard in itself. And that would be a testament to how much effort you put in.
Yeah, I mean, Grumpy, I agree. I mean, the leaderboard would just be a fun thing, but people still like to compete. I mean, I like to compete. You always want to win, so I do agree that maybe you can do that. But it's an option we have in the back of our heads, kind of like doing that at some point. Let's see. Jelly, you have a question incoming?
So, cello, do you play the cello? Because that would be my most obvious question.
To answer that one, cello, I mean, most of the time, yes.
Within reason.
Yeah.
Like, if I were to put one, again, at like 1,000 feet, all right, let's be realistic. At 100 feet versus me putting in one at like, for me, about 30 feet, I'm not going to have really any better coverage because I'm clearing everything that I can clear within a reasonable distance. So higher is not always better, but in general, high enough to get a good line of sight.
Yeah, exactly.
Although technically, if you went to like 1,000 feet, you overcome a little bit more curvature of the earth, but not enough to care about. Plus, you would have planes actually hitting your tower, so there's that.
You have to put a strobe light on it or something. Is this true? Yeah.
Ah, all right. Well, there we go. Now we know the etymology of his name.
Oh, very cool.
Do we know the source of Ghosty of Alex's name? Why he uses Ghosty?
I have no idea. I guess I'm not so creative. I just use my regular name for Discord. So it's like, I was like, because it's funny because when we started a project, I had a Discord, but it was like, honestly, the Discord was from so long ago when I played Pokemon Go, and there was like a Pokemon Go Discord. So I don't know. I think I started like 2018 the Discord, but I hadn't used it. And then Alex was like, "Oh, you got to select a good name." I was like, "I'm just gonna be Robin."
Yeah. I'd love to know his history because every time I try to say it to someone else, I stumble on it because it's not Ghosty, it's Ghosty with a W. So it's like, difficult to
I
say.
don't know. Maybe maybe that will be like when we do next AMA, like questions, like suggest questions, then we'll put that in there.
Yeah, first question.
Exactly. Yeah, first question, next one. Why the name? Oh, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's a few minutes too, and like, if anyone has, at any time, I want the community to always feel like, you have any constructive feedback, anything you feel like, hey, didn't really agree with the way you did this, or maybe you could have done this better. Because I mean, we don't know everything. We're always trying to learn. So any feedback, like if you have constructive criticism, don't feel like you can never say it. You can say it here. You can DM me. But I just thought, since I have some people here, feel free to do that. Because we are going to miss things. So it's, we're always learning.
And I might have mentioned it the other day. I can't remember now. There's been a few stages, but I do have intent very soon to run through all of the community suggestions and try to organize them and come up with points, actionable points that we can work on if they make sense. So please go into suggestions area. Maybe upvote things. Even if you don't want to comment, just upvote them with a thumbs up or something to give me some indication that you care. And if you have a new suggestion, add one, please. It'll help a lot.
Yeah. No, the suggestion channel is amazing. So really appreciate everyone who's adding things there. It's perfect. Because I mean, ultimately, we're building this to make sure that everyone that's in here enjoys it. So like, we actually really care about what you guys want, what you say, and what you ask for, and then obviously we're gonna see what can we do, and in what order.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to come to fruition, or how it's going to work out. But for example, yesterday someone suggested, and I can't remember who, and I can't change tabs right now or it'll mess up the video, but someone suggested, hey, could you like make the onboarding script, the download script, like, I don't know. Oh, actually the suggestion was, can you add the location command, the set read SB location command also to the instructions under the antennas. So that way people will obviously be able to use it. And Gertz, there you go. Hey Gertz, thank you. And that immediately prompted me. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And we have just recently added a link to copy the device ID, because a lot of people, easy mistake, you either don't copy and paste it correctly, or you just type it instead of using a copy paste. So there's now a copy link. But what if we had a link so that it changes the command itself, and it includes the latitude, the longitude, the device ID, and there's no more typing any of that stuff. And that just came from a suggestion. So obviously we do read them, and hopefully it can help guide us in a lot of cool directions.
Yeah, no, awesome.
And what's strange, Gertz? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I got a fun update, actually. So there's this tech newspaper in Sweden. It's called Break It. It's like TechCrunch of Sweden. Obviously, Sweden is not a very big country, but we actually got featured there today as one of the most promising startups coming out for 2024. And we're the only, there's a list of a few different startups, but we're the only one that operates within blockchain or Web3, which is super exciting. And we're actually going to do a large interview with them next week. And so that was really, really cool. It's a very well-respected publication. So that's a fun little update for today. So that was exciting.
Is there any way to get a translated or a copy of any of that for participants to see it?
So the one issue with the newspaper is you have to pay to read it. But usually how the articles work is at first you have to pay, so there's a paywall. But then after a couple of weeks, they're free. Because if we link it now, you can go into, and Google can translate it. But I can't post it because no one can read it. And I can't, if I download the article as a PDF and share it, then we can get in trouble.
Right.
But hopefully in 2 or 3 weeks, they open it up, and then I will share it if anyone wants to read it.
Cool. What I was going to say was, Gertz, just as a note as well, your suggestion helped because I was already planning on updating the install script to prompt you for latitude and longitude. And based on your suggestion, came up with the idea, like, why do we even have to type it? So excellent. Again, make suggestions, people. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we got about 7 more minutes for anyone that has anything left they want to ask. Again, feel free. You can ask anything. It doesn't have to be specifically about the project. It can be about us, background, what we like to do. I mean, any questions you have, feel free.
All right, man. This is just going to be a learn about Robin day. So, Robin,
Yeah.
if you didn't have to work anymore at all right now, what would be the one activity you would want to be doing every day?
Ooh, that's a good question. I actually really like working. I mean, I took my I took a vacation in 2015, and then I took the next one last year, and that was when I quit Klarna, and I thought, yeah, I'm just gonna take some vacation. Um, I really like building things, so I'm happy doing this. I don't think I am actually not single. I am married.
Then you messed
I
up
don't have
the
kids.
answer. That's what he's saying. Spending all the time I can with my wife.
Oh, yeah. No, but the cool thing with, I have to say, my wife is awesome. We started before Klarna, I actually had an e-commerce company that me and my wife started, and we sold it. So she's also entrepreneurial. We don't have children, and we just both like doing this stuff. So she's very supportive, and she's pushing me, to do whatever I need to do to make this successful. So yeah, but now I understand the question, Dan. Sorry, I'm not smart enough to realize it in the beginning, but yeah, I'm married.
And this is going on YouTube.
Yeah, it's going on YouTube. That's fine.
All right,
Tell
everybody, just act normal. We'll act like the question has just been asked, and I'll edit this. I'm just kidding. So, Cello wants to know if we have developers on staff already that can do a Wingbits mobile app, or do we need people?
We don't have them in-house right now. We're looking into a partnership with another company that if we end up partnering with them, it would be a massive improvement to the UI and just the user experience as a whole. But they also would then be able to assist with essentially app development. They have all that. But it's not done yet. It's just something we're evaluating. So if it works out, then we will get it through there. If not, that might be something we're adding in the future. Also, maybe we'll could allow people to build on top of the data that they collect and build functions for the community, essentially. I guess a lot of people want people like apps. Like everyone wants an app in here. Does everyone want an app? Do we have to reprioritize?
I think it's super handy. I will admit that the dev that has been working on redoing the UI and everything has done a really good job of making sure that it's mobile friendly. I appreciate when I can use a site sometimes to do the things I need to do, and I don't have to actually download an app and log into an app and use my Face ID or whatever else. So I think each has their own place. And I think if we expand into the point of where you're tracking planes, getting notifications, stuff like that, then obviously that would be like a standalone application. But
yeah. Yeah, no, I think an app would play. I mean, it would be good for many reasons. Like check your dashboards, like if there's like the notifications in there, like see your earnings, see all that stuff, and also obviously track planes. That would probably be pretty good. Yeah, I agree, Cello. It's one little step at a time. We got a minute. I mean, it's like not a hard stop, but I have to because I have stuff left to do. So it's 7:30 p.m. here right now. But obviously we enabled the email notifications. The issue is some people will get them and they'll say, oh, this is spam. Well, you can turn them off in the dashboard, but if people say the notifications are spam, that then essentially it's going to block those emails. So please don't report it as spam. Rather unsubscribe or turn off the notifications in your dashboard. Yeah, Grumpy, we this was the first iteration. We know it needs to go be more sooner. If an antenna goes down, we can't wait for hours. So that will come.
Oh, a final note in my head. The form for submitting either refund or token airdrop for the hex purchasing. I know there's been a lot of people like, I can't find it. Make note that it might be in your spam folder. If you use Gmail does not like the mailing list sender provider as much as I would hope. So occasionally it will end up in your spam. It did not for me, but just take a look, make sure.
Yeah, but we're gonna send out one more to the people that have not opened, just to make sure everyone gets a chance to answer. But we will collect all the answers at the end of this month, and all the people that didn't answer at all, we're just gonna have to do a refund because we have to kind of get this done. Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff, and thank you, Ancillary. Really appreciate everyone hanging out in here, listening to us, and asking great questions.
Green Llama, I'll deal with that, or I'll answer that outside of this recording. But yes, that's a possibility in the future. You can set it up yourself as well.
Yeah,
I can help.
Let's see, Cello here. We'll get an email for receiving. We will. So if you have not answered, you will get another email before probably tomorrow or Monday. If you don't get an email tomorrow, Monday, you have answered the form because we have a registry of everyone that answered and all that stuff. Any last few questions before we turn this off? Otherwise, thanks so much to everyone. I really appreciate everyone being in the project. I mean, this community is awesome. You guys are amazing. So it's really fun to be in here every day and hang out with everyone.
And for anybody joining late, this is not our last one. This is going to be our last one probably on this topic about the participation plan, but we will have other stages in the future.
A question: would people prefer more and shorter, or keep them like more, like longer time in between and do them longer, these stages? Maybe like 30-minute ones. Yeah. We'll probably do because like if we do 30-minute ones, we can do more often, and we have to figure out what times as well, so we can accommodate people both the US side and people over in Australia, Asia. So we're gonna have in Europe. So we have to figure out, maybe we do alternate, like one time a month, 30 minutes for people in a certain time zone, and the next time that month is for people in a different time zone. Maybe that would work.
Cool.
Yeah, that's true, Grumpy.
And now everybody's typing at the same time.
Yeah, I'll just wait until when is next AMA? I don't know. I mean, since we've had 3 stages now, probably do. We'll probably do some stages, but you guys we can start collecting questions maybe for an AMA, and then when we get enough questions, we'll schedule it.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, maybe something like that, so people can actually post questions, and then we'll record, schedule the stages in the future, so people can kind of plan for them a little better. So I would like to do these. I really like doing these. It's really fun to sit here and answer your questions, but just to be completely transparent, like I spend 80 to 90 hours a week working. So it's hard for me to do them weekly, but bi-weekly would be good. So hopefully you guys understand.
All right. I'm willing to do one final question, which
final question, and then
Crypto Kurt.
Yeah.
Can you use an old helium antenna? So yes, you can. It is not ideal. You will capture a smaller portion of data that a properly tuned 1090 megahertz antenna will capture. I say in a pinch, if you have it already, one huge note to that, make sure that if you're using a cable that originally was going into your helium device, it will probably not have a center pin, a male pin on the SMA side. So when you try to connect it to the ADSB receiver, you will need an adapter, and we can help in the Discord chat, but you will need adapters. But meanwhile, yes, you can use an antenna that is not tuned for it. You're just going to be at a detriment compared to other people who have properly tuned equipment. And if those people are in your same area and you're, kind of splitting rewards with them, you probably want the best antenna you can, which is a correctly tuned one.
Yeah. All right, guys, we have to cut it off. Thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate it. If you have any other questions, feel free to obviously ping us on Discord, and we'll schedule these bi-weekly, shorter ones, and we'll start collecting some questions for an AMA, and then when we have enough, we'll schedule an AMA for that.
Cool.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.